Hi, I'm Kat. Welcome to my channel. So this is the start of a weekly vlog and we are going to be reading sci-fi, a lot of sci-fi. Last week, if you had watched my video, I was participating in the Scientific September readathon, and originally I planned to do a different one this week because, long story short, there's just so many readathons I want to do in September and I was going to break it up one by week. But you know what? I am having such a fantastic time reading sci-fi that I decided to do another week of it because why not? I can do whatever I want. So basically, I will link the readathon below, and it's basically just a readathon of reading either sci-fi or science books. I do have one science book I really want to get to this week, but otherwise just a crazy amount of sci-fi. And by a crazy amount, I mean just quickly scanning my shelves, I see at least 10 that I really want to get to. Not realistic for where I'm at right now, but we will try. So welcome to my channel and please enjoy a week of just unhinged science fiction. I am a gigantic fan of sci-fi and I'm just always so excited to share more about it because I don't feel like people talk about sci-fi enough, and I feel like a lot of people are intimidated by the genre for no reason. So I'm going to start reading. I'm going to check in later with just to tell you guys what I'm reading and maybe a little bit more of what I'm planning on reading this week. So I will see you soon. Thursday. So I meant to do this yesterday, but we're gonna go over some of the books that I might want to read this week, which again, same as last week, just maybe a few more and the most ridiculous giant stack of books ever. So we're gonna start off first with Morning Star. I'm getting so close to being done this. I love it. It's perfection. It has destroyed my heart already in so many ways. But this is such a good book. This series is amazing, and I'm definitely going to be finishing this probably today, maybe tomorrow if it comes to that. But yeah, we are so close to being done. So I'm loving this. It's amazing. You've heard me rant about it so many times. And then the other one I've started, and I'm 60 pages into it, is The Gene. I've been primarily listening to this on audio because while the information is incredibly interesting to me, I love, I'm a biology person through and through. It is also very dense at times, and I've really shifted into the mindset of reading for me is more of a release. I don't necessarily like to learn stuff at times, which, So I'm 20-ish% into the audiobook, and I'm loving it. We've mostly just covered so far the early history of genetic biology and Gregor Mendel's work, and a bit more of we're just starting to look more at Darwin's work as well. So I'm finding it super interesting. It's not really, the science itself is all stuff I know, but we're also diving a bit more into some of these people and their lives. So we talked a lot about Mendel's history, his desire to be a teacher, and how he kept failing at that. So I'm really enjoying that. I like knowing a little bit more information, a little bit more historical context, and it's just stuff that I really find fascinating. I love this I love learning this information, and I'm always such a biology girly, and anything about it I get excited. So I have a feeling I'm gonna love this. It is a little dry to be reading on its own, and I'm just so tired, and especially mentally tired by the end of the day, that I really don't want to have something so intense to read. So listening to it on audio while I work has actually been fantastic. And then let's just do a really quick look at some of the other options for this week. So Fractal Noise by Christopher Paolini. This is, I think it's book 1.5 in this series. The first one is To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, which I enjoyed. I just thought it was way too long for what it was. The Ferryman by Justin Cronin. I like him. I like his books. Planetfall by Emma Newman. I don't know too much about this, but I've heard a few recommendations for it. Wool by Hugh Howey. I have started this one. I've gotten 50 pages into it, not very far, but I think this is going to be super interesting. It's early to really get into it, but it's in this dystopian world where people are living in these silos because the outside world is uninhabitable, and basically the only way you can see outside is through these little cameras, and every few years somebody who's committed a crime is sentenced to go outside and clean that camera, and it's basically a death sentence because as soon as as you go in, as soon as you get out of the silo, you die. But this is like the one thing that brings people hope, is this idea of being able to see the outside world. So whenever it gets too contaminated, too dirty, people kind of get restless inside. So I'm really not that far into it. We just have, so far, our main character is somebody who is being sentenced to go outside. And then the last book I have is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I love her. I love her books, all the ones that I've read, so it's time to finally get to this series. And, you know, obviously I have so many others on my shelf that I could potentially come to. This sci-fi world, I have so many sci-fi books, and I'm sure I have some on my iPad as well that I could read, like some ebooks. So we'll see what I get to. The biggest one right now for sure is I'm going to be finishing Morningstar no matter what. Probably today. I'm really in the mood to finish it. I've been super obsessed with Rio Radiance by Sol de Janeiro lately. This has been like my go-to perfume, and I'm just rediscovering my love for it and cannot stop wearing it. So just an FYI, this is what I've been wearing a lot. So another weekend done, another one where I was camping the entire weekend and didn't really get that much reading done. So this was probably our last camping trip this season, which I'm a little sad about because I love it. Obviously, like, we've been going so much, but also like so insanely excited to finally start having weekends to myself again, because basically this entire summer, my partner and I have been on the go. We haven't been home. We've been doing something every weekend. And like, it feels like since we moved into this house in July, we haven't actually spent like a full weekend here doing nothing. So really excited for that in the future, to like soon have no plans for a little bit and soon just get into like, I don't know, getting life together zone, because you'll see in the upcoming weeks we have projects we want to do around the house. Like, there's so many things. Like, this room, I'd like to actually do something with it besides just having a desk in here and a bookshelf that I have random stuff on. So lots of projects to come, and I'm really excited for it. So weirdly excited to just like not have plans for a bit. But camping was super fun. Despite it being like one of the last weekends of September, it wasn't actually too cold, which was very surprising. I finally like got new gear, so that made a huge difference, that I wasn't freezing at night, and it was really nice to like not to have that many bugs. So it was a great weekend. And yeah, I'm back. We got home yesterday, so Sunday, around noon, and I was way too tired to really update anything, but I did spend a big chunk of the day reading, and I managed to finish Morningstar, which, I mean, it's a 5-star. Nobody can be surprised about that. Obviously, it was going to be a 5-star. Every book in this series has been, and I do anticipate going forward, every other one will be. But it was fantastic. It was very emotionally heart-wrenching. There were some things that happened in this that I straight up refused to believe actually were real, because I was feeling the pain a little bit too much and refused to admit that they actually were happening. But this was so good. And I ranted about it so much to my partner that I think I successfully convinced him to start reading this series, especially because he's not a huge reader. And I think I finally managed to convincingly sell it to him that it is something that's unbelievable. And I do think that this is one of the best sci-fi series I've ever read. So I love it. Also, holy shit, the ending and the epilogue. Like, if you've read it, you know, and yeah, I can't believe how good this was. So I'm so happy that this is done. I love it. I love this series, and in October I'll definitely be reading Iron Gold. So really, this is like my only big reading update that I have for the week, or that I have for the weekend so far. I listened to another 10% of The Gene. I'm still loving it. I think that this book is really just for the science nerds, and if you are somebody with a science background or biology background, you will love this book deeply. If you have no interest in it, obviously it is not for you, but I'm loving it. I am such a huge biology person, so obviously this is like the best thing ever for me. So I anticipate that this one's going to be a very high rating for me just because I'm loving getting all this information. So really otherwise, I don't have that many reading updates. I have started reading Caliban's War by James S. A. Corey, and by started reading, I mean I've read 3 chapters, so not much to tell there. And I'm kind of going over, I'm really like reviewing everything that I have to read and trying to figure out how much I can power read like tonight and tomorrow, because I do really want to finish like 2 more books this week. I know for sure I'll finish The Gene. Well, I don't know for sure, but I'm hoping they'll be able to. And then maybe like 2 more on top of that. So we will see how that goes. But tonight I just finished editing a weekly vlog that's going up tonight. And now it's time to marathon read, of course. I have a few more hours before bed, so I'm gonna read for a few more hours. So today's Wednesday. No, he's such a sad boy. Wednesday, what is going on? I do have a few reading updates. Then I'm gonna power read today, try to get as many more books done because I have two more that I really want to get done today. But what's going on? So I'm about 70% into The Gene, which I am really enjoying and really hoping I'll be able to finish that today. I'm purposely gonna go for a very long walk to try and finish the audiobook, but I'm feeling hopeful that should be done because I think it's like 5 hours, but I listened to it on 2 times speed, so it should be a bit less than that. Then I've started reading Caliban's War by James S. A. Corey, and this is book 2 in the Expanse series, which is just like this huge interplanetary war type of series where it's like all of these outer rim planets, so like space stations, moons, everything that's not central versus like Earth and the moon in this potential interplanetary war and this huge conspiracy theory. I really like it. I read the first book like 6-ish months ago, so I mildly forget a little bit of what happened in it, but I am really enjoying being back in this world and really excited to keep going in this series. So that's one that I really want to get done today. Yeah, I desperately want to get that done. And then I've also started reading a shorter novella called I Who Have Never Known Men. This is just like a little dystopian book. It's only about 140 pages, but it's a young girl who's in this like, well, it's hard to explain because we really don't know what's happening. And that's, I think, kind of the point of the book is that you really have no idea what's happening. You don't have answers to anything. And it's just very, like, all very confusing. But she is part of this group of women who were rounded up during this mysterious event. So nobody really knows what was happening because they're all drugged at the time. So they're all questioning what happened. But this group of 39 women plus this one young girl, who I think she was about 2 at the time that they were rounded up, they were all brought together and deposited in this prison. And they have no idea what's happening. So it's been like 13 years and they're in this prison and they don't know why they're there. The guards don't interact with them. They just give them food, they leave, they don't say anything. They're monitored 24/7. They have no clue what's happening. And this is kind of just where we're at right now. It's just like, they don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on. They have no answers. They have no way to get the answers because they try to interact with the guards. Nobody tells them anything. They don't really know why they're there. They don't know what the event was that caused them to be there. They don't know anything. And our main character, because she was raised basically in this prison, she knows nothing about the real world. She has so many questions about what society was, what it was like for people, like just what sex is, what men are, like all of these things. And we're following her right now as she's kind of like really starting to question her existence and why she's there and what's going on. So I'm really interested in it. I'm super interested in it. I think this is going to be a good one. But those are the 3 books I have on the go right now. Definitely going to try to finish off one of them. Not one. I'm going to finish at least 2 of them. I really hope so. And a lot of today is just going to be marathon reading. was just starting to get ready for bed and realized that I had not I had not filmed an outro to this. So I did actually manage to read a considerable amount today, like so much more than, well, not so much more, but basically exactly what I was hoping to do. I got 2 books finished, and yeah, so let's update that and then we're gonna end this off. So the first one that I did finish was I Who Have Never Known Men. So this was a really short novella. It was under 200 pages, but it was fantastic. So when I was describing it earlier, it's this girl who's in this cage. She's been here her entire life, and she and a bunch of women are in this cage, and none of them know why. So all they remember is that there was some event, some confusion, they were drugged for a bit, and now they're all brought to this prison, basically prison, and they have guards who completely ignore them. They don't interact with them, they don't tell them anything, nothing. So they're in this prison, and then this event happens and the guards leave, they manage to get free, and now they're just wandering this world that they know nothing about, and we're just left with so many questions. So this book, it's really about like loneliness and figuring out who you are and all of this, but the amount of questions that I have about what was going on, like literally nothing was explained in this book, and that's part of why I think it was so good. Like I think it was so good because I'm just sitting here like wondering all of this stuff, and it was so good, so interesting, but like holy crap, nothing was explained, and that's a little frustrating, but it really kind of adds to this mystery of that's not the point of the book. The point is just this one woman's journey and her personal feelings and her views on loneliness and her trying to figure out who she is. Like that's entirely what the book is, and you're not really meant to know or understand what's happening because that's not the point. That's not the story. That's just something that's happening. But oh my god, this was good. This was a 5-star. It was just such a great like personal reflection on this woman's life, and I absolutely loved it. I definitely mildly frustrated about not knowing anything, but I think that's adding to it, and it's making me like really think more about it, but I loved it. Then, so other updates. I'm 50-ish% into Caliban's War by James S.A. Corey. So this one, I think I can tell already I would have benefited from having read the series closer together or having like read a recap of the first book, which I think I probably should do before I keep going, because there's a lot of things I'm not remembering and a lot of the characters who I'm not really able to distinguish in my head. I'm pretty sure that we have multiple new perspectives in this one. It's just like this issue of I can't remember who exactly we followed in book 1. I can't remember all of the people, and I know there's new people because we're exploring new worlds. I just can't remember all of the details, but I think it's good. It's very interesting. It's like this whole conspiracy, like between planets, between all of these moons and space stations and all of that, and it's like a conspiracy starting to look like a war. There's like potential alien race. Like it's very interesting. I just like kind of forget a lot of what happened in the first book, unfortunately, but I'm enjoying it. I'm still enjoying it quite a bit. So I was hoping to get it done today, but obviously that's not going to happen. It's still like another 300 pages or so, but we'll keep going on it next week. And then the final book that I did finish is The Gene, which this was fantastic. This is also a 5-star, which that's amazing. Like I had quite a few 5-star reads this week. Like this, yeah, I can't remember. Did I read Morning Star this week? Yeah, so that'd be 3 5-star reads, which amazing. This was so good. I'm like, my background is in biology. I have a degree in it, and I always have been very interested by genetics and a lot of the information in here. So the science itself, I understood, or I already knew basically all of it. But a lot of the like historical context or like diving into the lives of these scientists who discovered the certain different things and like explaining a bit more about how they came to this conclusion and what their life was like, what their lab was like, what in context of all of the other discoveries going on at the same time and who they were working with, like this type of stuff. I ate that shit up. Like I find that so interesting. And I think I knew some of it, but just like maybe because it wasn't as important to me as the like actual scientific discoveries, I didn't remember it, but I really deeply enjoyed this. And if you have any interest in biology, I would highly recommend. Like it really goes books from the beginning of like Mendel's experiments, Darwin, to the discovery of like mapping the human genome and trying to really understand like which genes could cause potential diseases, and also like the history of eugenics and the type of experiments that were completed, which really horrifying, but really also interesting to see. And yeah, I thought this was amazing. This highly would recommend for anyone interested in science. It was fantastic. So there we go. This is going to be the end of this vlog. It's Wednesday, so we're finishing it off today. And this was incredibly successful. I am amazed at how well this went, which I love sci-fi. I love sci-fi, and I'm never surprised. I'm really not surprised that I enjoyed so many of these, because a lot of them were ones that I owned and wanted like had a high suspicion that I was going to enjoy. So yeah, this was a very successful readathon. I'm so happy that I was doing this Scientific September the last 2 weeks, because it worked out so incredibly well, and I'm just so pleased with all the books that I read and how all of this went. So if you haven't already, please subscribe. I will be having another weekly vlog next week. I'm not sure yet what I'll be doing, but I'm sure it will be fun. So hopefully I will see you then.